Hi guys, and welcome to SpiritHalloween for a brand new DIY project. This time my project is inspired by a real existing Halloween prop. I talk about Barry from SpiritHalloween at this point. And Barry itself is a zombie. He sits in his cage, rattles the bars, makes some noise, and of course you want to get out of the cage. Well, sadly SpiritHalloween doesn't deliver to Germany. There are some shops in Germany which offer this prop, but here we are on a DIY channel, so why not building my own version here? My version of Barry has maybe not the scope of functions like the original one, but here you can always do some improvements. I really need a name for this Halloween prop here, so if you have a cool idea for a name for this guy, please tell me about in the comments. I will collect your suggestions. This video will be available in two parts, and in the first part I will show you how I build the cage and the mechanics and so on. And in the second part I will show you how I do the rust finish, because this doesn't look like a cool old rusty iron cage. This is something I will show you in part 2. So be sure you are subscribed to my channel so you don't miss the second update video. But now let's start into part 1 and I show you how I build the cage and the mechanics. So right, I start the project by building the cage, and therefore I need a top and a bottom frame. And for those frames I use those wooden slats here, and they are 17 by 37 millimeter in dimension. And for the bars I use such installation pipes here, which is used for electrics. And here I have 20 millimeter in diameter and 16 millimeter in diameter. But first I will build the top and the bottom frame, and therefore I need 4 slats with a length of 60 centimeter 4 times 70 centimeter 4 times 57 centimeter and 4 times 67 centimeter. So I will cut those to length and then I can assemble the frames. So I'm done with cutting all the parts for top and bottom frame. Now it's time to put it together, and I will show you as an example on one side how it is done. And here you have a longer one for a side and you have the shorter one which belongs to it. And the idea is to screw it together like this, so it is centered. And when you look from the side it looks like the letter L. And to make it easy for me, I use a leftover here, place it vertically, use the shorter one, place it next to it, and then use the longer one, put it on top. And to make it easy for me, so I don't have to measure the center every time, I use another leftover here. I just simply put it to the side, and it stays a little bit over here, but you will see why in a minute. Make sure it is flush at the bottom side, and then I just screw it together. So all the side parts are done, and now it's time to assemble the top and bottom frame. And in order to do this, I add a miter cut at both sides, at the corners here, and then I can put it together, add a screw from each side, and I think I will add some glue in between to support the corner a little bit. So alright, I'm done with the top and the base frame, and I choose this one as the bottom frame here. I also could use the other one because they are identical. But I choose this one here, and now it's time to add the bars at the bottom frame. Therefore I use those wooden slats again and add them upright here, and I will add 2 ones in this direction and 2 ones in this direction here. And I use some wooden slats here because I need some solid ground to attach the mechanics later on.
So that the bars do not have such hard edges, I use a router here to round the edges a little bit. This way it will more look like rounded metal when you look from underneath.
So right, the top frame and the bottom frame is done, and now it's time to add the vertical bars. And therefore I use such installation pipes here from the electrics, and this is 20 millimeter in diameter, and I cut them to a length of 1 meter and 10. Now it's time to attach the vertical bars, and the bars in between here will only be attached using some screws, but the bars in the corners will get an additional bracket here, and the bracket will be screwed to the bottom. Then the pipe will be put onto the bracket, and the screw will go through the pipe, through the bracket, into the wooden frame. And the reason for this is the cage will hang somewhere, and the chains at the top will be attached to the corners. And using those brackets here, the whole weight of the cage will not only be carried by those PVC pipes, but also by the brackets.
bars on top are built the following way. In the installation pipes with a diameter of 20 mm, I drilled 2 holes with a diameter of 16 mm, so I can simply put the pipes together crosswise. After plugging the pipes together, the grill is screwed from the top. This is sufficient here because it has nothing else to carry except itself.
Alright, our prison or cage is finished so far, and at least the body shell of it. The painting will be done later, and before I do that I will now add the prisoner and the mechanics which will move the prisoner at the end. So here we have the bottom of the cage, and now it's time to attach the mechanics in this area here. And the mechanics is this thing here. It's an L bracket here. It's a 30 centimeter long steel plate. And here we have the wiper motor as a drive. And to be able to attach this thing to the bottom, I first screw this plate here down to the wood. So to be able to attach our prisoner, I used this bar here, and I attach a small hinge at the bottom here, and now I screw it down to the wood.
Here you can see the connection between the motor and the rod to which the skeleton will be attached. This is a 6 mm threaded rod, and at both ends a joint head is screwed on.
So alright, I wired everything up here, and here we have the pretty much standard PWM speed controller, which is wired to the wiper motor, and yeah, let's do a test run. So now here we have the test run with our prisoner.
Of course, our skeleton gets some clothes later on. So that these do not get caught in the mechanics, I built a protection consists of 2 plastic boxes of a salad, which you can buy quite normally in the supermarket. Here you can see the upper part in action and how it protects the arm of the wiper motor. With this, nothing gets caught due to the rotation, so no clothes could be wrapped around. The lower half is built identically. To keep the skeleton arms in place, I fixed them by using 2 small screws. Now finally I attach some screw hooks at the top so I can hang the cage with the help of 4 chains. This is the finished result, at least of the carcass. To test it, I hang our guy to the ceiling of my garage here.